Okay, there you go.
We are so cute. Look how cute we are.
I know. This is Debbie. Okay.
Hello.
My friend always teases me and says, "You need to look at the camera. It's over here."
Oh,
It's weird.
that is really
I
weird.
won't be good at
Okay.
it either.
We'll
But
try.
I'm here with Debbie, and we are in Denver, Colorado. Debbie is fighting the good fight against racism here. And so I wanted to meet up and have a conversation with her and her work, what she's been doing. I'll let her talk a bit about her own faith, because this is race and faith. So I try to hear about people's fight against racism from their faith perspective, and like how your faith is informing you and inspiring you to even do this work. And then later I might ask you some more questions about that. But we can just get started first with you just talking to us about what you do, how your faith is a part of that, and how it's helping you do what you do.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Jewish, and a big part of my identity is figuring out where to stand against injustice. What's the spot? Both fighting for myself as somebody who's a member of a targeted group. Though I am white, I am also targeted. So I have a privileged identity and I have an oppressed identity. So the combination of those two actually gives me some leverage to...
A privileged identity and an oppressed identity.
Yeah, at the same time.
At the same time. I think as like United States citizens, we all carry that. I think I even struggle with that sometimes as a black person when I've traveled overseas, because then you feel the thing that people have against the United States, and it's like, I can't. I'm that too. I can't run from it, but at the same time, I feel oppressed by the same system that I have to say I know I'm privileged by. So I love that, privileged and oppressed. Sorry, I know I jumped in there.
No, that's good.
Go ahead.
Well, and that, I mean, it's kind of like even just if you have middle class privilege and you're black and you're disabled, I mean, there's still a mix of privilege and non-privilege.
Right, exactly.
And so in terms of being a Jew, I feel like the privilege that I have as a white Jew is that doors are open to me that aren't open to you in terms of places I can influence people or challenge people and sway public opinion or sway leaders that I'm in touch with or influence this conversation.
Right.
So the work that I do most recently, I've worked with as a white ally in terms of teams of black women leaders who are doing anti-racist education. And recently I've been shifting into working with a white woman to work in synagogues.
A white Protestant.
A white Protestant, a minister, yes, lovely human
Protestant meaning
Unitarian minister.
Okay.
Yeah.
Non-Jewish.
Yeah, she's not Jewish.
Right.
There you go. So it's interfaith.
Yeah.
We're both white, but we're two different faith traditions. And we're going to be working in the synagogue starting this fall, doing the racial equity residency, where we're training whole groups of people within the synagogue to think about both racism, what does black liberation and Jewish liberation have to do with each other? And how do you help Jews think about both fighting for ourselves and in so doing, fighting for black liberation? Like these are one thing. So one thing I'm really excited about in this work is there's a black man named Eric Ward. He works for an organization called Western States. And he is doing some really good thinking about how anti-Semitism is part of the fuel for white supremacy. That anyone who's interested in ending the oppression against black people needs to think really hard about how anti-Semitism supports that and has to be dismantled along with racism. So the two linked together, that's where my mind is.
It's going.
At the same time.
Can you talk a little bit about the way anti-Semitism looks here in the United States? I mean, we hear of the outrageous, like the shootings and that kind of thing, and I know for myself as a black woman, and when I've received racialized hateful acts, it often comes out where people can accept it more when it's something big, like I remember I was in college, we got hate mail sent. So people can automatically see that as something that's wrong and hateful.
Yeah.
But it's like when we talk about the smaller
The
acts.
microaggression stuff, yeah.
That people like, they don't see those, they don't readily accept those, or don't even understand how that may be helpful. So hateful. So how would you explain?
That's a great question.
What is what does that look like on a day-to-day basis? That doesn't have to do with graffitiing a synagogue or shooting a
people.
Yeah.
Right. That's
we know those egregious forms.
Right. That's a great question. I was thinking about a Latina friend of mine.
Sorry, we're outside. Obviously, you can hear all this other noise and other conversation.
We did it purposely to be realistic.
Right.
So this Latina friend of mine years ago said, how did she say it? She said at the end of the day she just had to pull about 10 arrows out of her body just from living as a brown woman.
Right.
What it was like to walk the streets or to be in grocery stores. So I'm not afraid of being stopped by a policeman for driving while Jewish.
Right.
Like that isn't part of my experience. But people will frequently say things to me like, oh, are you from New York? And it's like, no, I'm from Wisconsin originally, and you're just assuming I'm from New York because I look Jewish, So there's this misinformation or these assumptions. Sometimes people assume I'm good with money.
Right.
And it's like, well, I get that that's a stereotype, but I know plenty of Jews who are struggling financially, or raised working class and never did bust into the middle class. So assumptions about our unlimited access to power, which is it's a fantasy. Jews are positioned in a unique way. Like, we are an oppressed group, but the way our oppression works is really different. We're not, how do I say, thanks. Our oppression, it's like we're allowed to succeed in certain ways, and so we're kind of the cow catcher on the train. Like there's this huge racist train hurtling down the tracks, and Jews are positioned right in front, and so we're kind of like, you could call Jews like a buffer class. We're in between groups. So if we're the lawyers and the social workers and the teachers and the landlords, we are perfect targets for rage, class rage, and racial rage.
Yeah.
So we're positioned, it's like we're allowed to be successful. And so, there are plenty of Jews who have all kinds of financial resources.
Right.
I'm not denying that.
Right.
But the positioning is a very predictable feature of our oppression, that we're positioned in this very particular way between the enfranchised and the disenfranchised. And so it's really easy for the white people who hold power, serious power in this country, and who are controlling the levers of power, if they can distract people to be pissed off at us, that's really convenient for them.
Right.
So the Trumps and the CEOs of major organizations, major businesses, the captains of industry, usually are white Protestants and white men, and not Jews. So we're
But the myth is that they are Jewish.
Right. We're like 2% of the population. Like, we simply couldn't have all the power that people think we have.
Right.
We just can't, and we're not positioned at the highest levels. Now, Jared Kushner, yes, he's positioned way up there. And I'm not denying that all these Jews in the administration, they're very confused in my book.
Okay.
They're really, I hold out hope for them having a breakthrough in consciousness, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon.
And I think that becomes like some of like the issue when it becomes breakdown between, I think, blacks and Jews, is because Jews have the white skin, they have this appearance of whiteness, which gives all that power, and so it's so, and then it's like, then Jews have been accused and have sided with the white power over the part of them that may have the oppression, and so it becomes, I think, tricky and difficult.
Yep, I agree completely. I mean, I think it's tricky on both sides, that if it's convenient for me to use white privilege, not weaponize my privilege for you, if that's convenient and it just helps me have a better life, then it's kind of sad and kind of ridiculous.
Right.
But not ridiculous. What's the word? It's racist.
Survival too.
It's like forgetting that there's a we and thinking just about me. But so I do think a lot of Jews have were so relieved to get out of Europe and to get to a country that was safe.
Yeah.
Safe for us, whatever safe means, but it's that we were happy to trade some of our integrity for whiteness.
Right. For whiteness. Right. Like the conversation we had before. Drop the cultural pieces for whiteness.
Right.
For that label, for what it brings you, for what it gives you.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. And so it's like going from the frying pan into the fire, like
Yeah.
getting out of Hitler's Europe and arriving here. It's like, we'll do anything.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll hide behind this thing. But as the decades roll on, I think more of us can see that it's actually bad to be out of integrity. It's bad to not know the possibilities for solidarity with people.
Right.
Like I was just, trained to not think that other people would have my back or that I could have their back.
Right.
Jews are kind of socially isolated in particular ways. Like we look like we're integrated into the system, and our whiteness, white Jews anyway, because there's certainly a lot of Jews of color who are not integrated into whiteness. So we look like that we have positions, we have certain kinds of power, and we certainly have white skin that opens doors. But there are invisible ceilings, and there's invisible things that go on that keep us, that limit the access that people think we have.
Right.
So I'm not, well, go ahead.
No. I think my next a little bit of a shift, not much, but I'm really interested in how your faith inspires you now to do this work. And I know people have used Christianity to promote their own racist agenda and oppress people. Do you find in your faith how people have used it to oppress or have their own racist agenda be put to the forefront because of sacred text or believing that's something God wanted?
Right. I think it's less of a religious thing and more of plain old racism, like when white Jews are falling into racist patterns. I don't think it's really about the religion. It's more about living in a racist country, and like I said before, we made a trade, but whiteness offered us so much stuff that we could not refuse. So I think that the religion itself is not an exclusive religion. We're not an evangelical religion. We're not trying to convert people.
Right.
I think of Judaism as a set of principles and a shared history, and just a really beautiful tradition of relating to peoplehood, relating to God, relating to the Jewish story. Like, personally, I don't think I'm a member of the chosen people. I feel like everybody's chosen for something really special and particular.
Right.
And so, if I was chosen for anything as a Jew, I would say it was to pursue justice and pursue connections within my own people and between my people and other people. Like that feels like
you
sacred
feel like
to me. It's like my sacred work that feels connected to Judaism. But I don't think Judaism, I mean, the racist agenda, the question you were asking about,
if it's anything in there that people have used. I mean,
I'd
I don't
love
think Christianity has a racist agenda. I think
Right,
racist
yes,
people
used.
have used it
Absolutely,
for their
absolutely.
own agenda. I mean,
Right.
the basic message of it is not.
Right. I think
It's not a racist one.
I guess the one place I could respond to that is a great question, and I have to think about it more. But
Sure.
one thing that comes to mind has to do with when people get confused about the notion of the chosen people. And so to me that means special, isolated. It doesn't mean like sacred task. So that's a hard...
To be like the model, you're not the model group that God.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, or everybody's a model of something else.
Right.
But I've never been able to subscribe to... I do feel like we have unique strengths, but I feel like Christians have unique strengths.
Right.
Muslims have unique strengths. So I think the unique piece about Judaism being the whole idea of being a light unto the nations, like if that's... I can subscribe to the idea of Jews having... being in a position to to understand how changing the world is part of our faith. It's not just social action, but internally, spiritually, being with ourselves and with other groups towards change and redemption, and that not just accepting things as they are. I think of that as a really Jewish thing. That's how I was raised. I'm sure there are Jews who have really different takes. Really different takes than what I'm saying, and I'd love to hear from them. I'm not speaking for all Jews.
Right,
you know how
Oh, yeah.
Tell us how all black people think.
Right,
like,
No, right. Well, that's good. This conversation has my wheels turning, and that's why I enjoy so much to talk to different people from different faith perspectives, and how they think about racism or see racism, how it may show up in your own faith tradition and life, and how because faith is, at least for me, in the way I've seen racism play out in the United States. Faith has been a big part, for good and for bad. It's been a big part of it. And so I don't think we can really talk about racism, which is what race and faith is all about, acknowledging that racism is it's not a logical thing. It's not something you're going to just unlearn by reading some books or studying history. It just don't work like that. People are not racist just because they lack knowledge. I think it ties into deeper ways that people actually live their life and believe, So whether it's like this whole idea of the chosen people, I mean, that's an ideology, that's a way that people believe and live by, every day. And just like, with how people have used Christianity, it's like, no, God chose some people to have to be, enslaved and underneath me, some people have to be slaves, so it's these ways that we really believe through our religious teachings or our faith or the way we choose to practice and do life, that if we really have to get at people's belief systems, I think, and start trying to unpack some of those things to really understand why people may hold so tightly to their racist behaviors and thoughts. And I'm not saying it's the only way to do it, but I feel like it's a limiting way when we only go about it from like a collegial way, the college way. Let's go just unpack some books and take some tests. It's not
all the dimensions of a person's life.
It's all and that's what we do. All the dimensions. We try to look at the whole. We base it off the scripture where it says, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, body, and soul." So we look at that and like, well, this is how we're going to look at racism, and on the whole self, because we're bringing our whole selves to this subject. So you have just totally got my mind charged up. So hopefully,
good. Both ways.
I hope other people watch this, and I hope that it can challenge people to think, oh, what do I really think? What do I really believe? Why do I believe it? And then how is it helping me?
And who can I talk to? Because you're real good at reaching out to people and talking, and I try to do the same, and no one encourages us to have these conversations.
Right.
So just to have them is so powerful. Right. So I really appreciate your inviting me to do this, and I think you're a good model of getting people to do these kinds of things and take their chances and see what happens.
That's all we can do. People just could tell no. I mean, well, a lot more hateful things are happening, but I wouldn't be approaching those people anyway. Not by myself.
And sometimes they approach you.
Right? I'll be getting out of the way from those people. Okay. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Let me say bye. Oh, wait. How can people find you?
Oh.
Duh.
Let's see, whiteonwhiteconsulting.com.
Whiteonwhiteconsulting.com.
Yes, and my email is dzucker3@gmail.com, and that's D like Debbie, Z like zebra, UCKER 3 at Gmail.
At Gmail. Cool. All right, now we're done.